The opinions expressed in this show are the views of the host and not necessarily that of WTRW, 94.3 The Talker, or the Bold Gold Media Group.
The following presentation is paid for by Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, who is solely responsible for its content. Portions transcribed.
All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
This is the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Good morning. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor.
Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
Let me think about that. I'm very good.
Yes.
How are you?
Oh, you're good or you're well? We've had this discussion with my son, who's up and coming in school.
Yes, and he loves to correct her.
Yes.
Grammar.
You're doing well.
Yes. Doing very well. Thank you. Hi, Margot. We have with us Margot McDonald, president of 1031 Corp., calling in again this week from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. How are you today?
I am good, Jackie. Thanks so much for having me back.
We appreciate your time and this discussion because we're learning a lot about 1031 exchanges. We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we review many real estate topics. We have a full-time real estate office with many exceptional realtors who've been guiding, assisting, and advising clients in real estate matters for 50-plus years.
During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And when you're at jruddy.com, click on the webcam tab and see what's going on at Dunmore Corners. We get thousands of hits a month. I was checking the map. We get hits from all over the world on that camera. It's amazing.
I just can't understand that, but if you say it's so,
true.
I know it's so. So that's very interesting. View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobile-friendly jruddy.com, JRUDDY.com, where we also have all the popular podcast apps that we feature our radio show on. And, of course, we check us out on social media. We're just about everywhere. Okay, Margot McDonald, president of 1031 Corp., calling in from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. What is 1031 Corp.? What do you do every day of your life, please?
Sure, Jackie. So 1031 Corp. is what we call a qualified intermediary. It's a company that facilitates or makes easy the process of doing a 1031 exchange. We work with clients across the country who are selling business use or investment property to defer the gain when selling and reinvesting in another property. Our job is to make it easy for you to take advantage of this tax strategy.
You keep using this word easy or
and
simple.
Qualified.
And qualified.
Yeah, but you were saying, I just want to ask before you get started, you were saying qualified, so I can't have my accountant do this for me? I need to get...
That is correct. Your accountant would be a disqualified party.
Or my attorney?
Or your attorney, your real estate professional, your financial advisor, any close relatives, employees, or partners would be considered a disqualified party.
Okay, so you say easy and simple. And it just sounds so complicated to me as a real estate professional, this whole idea of 1031 exchanges. I have spoken with accountants and lawyers, and I can't tell you that how many people really don't have a firm grasp on what a 1031 exchange is. And if they don't, and how are realtors expected to, and could you just please explain why you think it's easy and simple? Because I think a lot of people get confused easily.
Sure, Jackie. Just like the real estate transaction, you have all the same basic ingredients every single time. And 1031 is just like that. Of course, a situation could make it a little bit more complicated, but generally the rules are the same all the time, and the qualified intermediary's job is to make it easy for you to take advantage of this 1031 exchange. It's easy in that there's set time periods, there's set requirements in order to defer all the gain, there's time periods of when it needs to be set up. So as long as you follow those rules, it's actually a really pretty simple transaction transaction, and the qualified intermediary is going to guide you through each step of the transaction, just like you do as the real estate professional in a typical transaction.
So there's nothing to fear or be afraid of.
No, not at all.
And it's
Not
actually
at
a
all.
benefit.
It's a huge benefit because you have the ability to defer the federal gain, the capital gains, as well as the depreciation recapture, and potentially the state income tax as well. Starting in January, you will be able to defer the Pennsylvania state income tax as well, and then we'll be the last state to conform with that federal code.
Yeah, that was a huge win for Pennsylvania.
Yes, it was. It's been a long time coming.
Okay. So let's talk about like-kind requirement. There is, if we sell a property, what property would we be the relinquished property? Is it a single-family home? Is it a commercial building? Is it only commercial real estate? What is this like-kind requirement exchange? What type of properties are involved?
That word like kind is probably what causes a lot of the confusion around 1031 exchanges. But like kind refers to the nature or character of the property, the use of the property, not the specific type of property. So I see all kinds of different properties frequently exchanged. It could be a single-family rental. It could be vacant land. It could be an office building. It could be a shopping center. It could be a farm. And what's really nice is the flexibility to buy any other kind of property. As long as they're held for business use or investment, it will work. So if you sold that vacant land that doesn't generate any income, you could buy a small office building. Or you can sell a farm and you may be retiring, so you sell the farm. Somebody else is going to continue to operate that farm, and you get to use it as an exit strategy to buy some rental properties that will generate cash flow for you in retirement. It's a really simple, flexible strategy. So you can buy and sell anywhere in the U.S. because it's part of the federal tax code. And any kind of property used for business use or investment will work. Like kind, again, refers to the use of the property, not the specific type of property. But I will note a couple of things that do not work for 1031 purposes. Your primary residence, the house that you live in, but there's a different section of the tax code that addresses that, and you may be able to sell that without paying any tax if your gain is less than $250 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married filing jointly. True vacation homes that are never rented also don't qualify, but with some planning and some time, there is a way to make it work. And the thing that will never qualify for 1031 treatment is a property held for sale. So any type of property that you intend to flip, a building lot, a spec home, a property that you're going to buy, renovate, and quickly sell. In the eyes of the IRS, you're a dealer or a developer, not an investor. So when you sell that property, unfortunately, you have to pay ordinary income tax. So 1031 will not help you in that situation.
And so on a primary residence and people that qualify, the single 250, the married 500,000, that could be taken advantage of every 2 years on a primary, correct? It's not just one and done?
Yes, that's the great thing about it. There's no need to reinvest. You can sell your house every 2 years and potentially pay no tax.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk about the many benefits of a 1031 exchange.
The first benefit is you are immediately deferring that gain. So rather than writing the check to Harrisburg or the IRS, you get to reinvest that money in replacement property. So it's the ability to buy real estate with pre-tax dollars, grow your real estate with those pre-tax dollars, and it allows you to preserve your equity and buy something that generates more cash flow coming in for you. It's the ability to diversify the type of properties you own or the location of those properties. Maybe over the years you've acquired 7 single-family rentals. And that's getting harder for you to manage. Or maybe it's just taking too much time out of your life and you want to buy one larger replacement property. You have the ability to do that. Jackie, I know you love going to Avalon at the Jersey Shore. So let's say that you have a rental property in Scranton and it's done really well for you, but someday your goal is to have a second home in Avalon. Well, we know it doesn't work. You can't just buy that property in Avalon and use it as your vacation home. But you could exchange that Scranton single-family rental for a single-family rental in Avalon, New Jersey that's going to be a rental property. And you're going to rent it for, summer after summer. You still get to use it 2 weeks out of the year for personal use. And let's say 10 years from now, 8 years from now, you decide, you know what? I'd like to spend my whole summer in Avalon. You can convert that to your vacation home, and that does not trigger any gain. You're just simply changing the character or the use of the property, and you get to use it as your second home. You satisfied all the 1031 requirements. It's many years later, and you can make that conversion. It also gives you the ability to do multiple exchanges. So if you did an exchange in 2022, and maybe you do another one in 2026, and in 2028 you decide, I want to sell that property, I want to buy 2 new ones. You can continue to defer the gain using 1031. IRS is keeping track of that IOU and what you might owe them. But what happens if you do an outright sale down the road and sell one of the properties that you acquired through 1031, you will then settle up with IRS and have to pay the gain on your current property as well as the tax on whatever gain you deferred along the way. But if you continue to hold the properties because clearly you and Pat are diehard real estate investors, you think that's the best investment out there, then unfortunately, someday we all pass away, and when we do, our heirs inherit all of our assets with a step-up in basis, meaning they inherit the property at the current fair market value at the time of death. And that means all of the gain that they deferred using 1031 is forgiven at the time of death. Currently, the first $12.06 million of someone's estate is exempt from estate taxes. So you have the ability to grow your real estate portfolio with pre-tax dollars, along the way increase your annual income, and then potentially pass that wealth to your heirs with no federal tax consequences to them.
Quick question.
It's a pretty powerful investment vehicle. Yes.
What if I put those properties in Avalon that I don't own yet, that I'm thinking about?
We're dreaming.
What we're dreaming about. And what if I put those in a trust?
You could definitely do that, but there is something called a same taxpayer or same owner requirement. So think about how you own your investment property today and how you're reporting it on your tax return. So whatever Social Security number or EIN is attached to that property, that's the same taxpayer that has to buy the new property. So if you sold your old property, let's say Jackie sold the relinquished property, then Jackie should buy the new property. But if Jackie and Pat, as husband and wife, sold the old property, then Jackie and Pat should buy the new property. If you have the JP partnership, then the JP partnership could buy. Now, we could do some planning if we're thinking, hey, I want to form a trust. You could each form your own revocable living trust. And buy that new property in the name of that trust.
Right.
Or you could form a single member LLC. I know while we were waiting for the program to start, we were talking about kids going away to college. And we all remember what life was like when we were 21 and 22. And, we might think, hey, if I'm going to rent to college students, I might want to put that property into a single member LLC. So if Margot McDonald owned the old property and I formed the Blue and White LLC, and Margot McDonald was the sole member of that LLC, that would also work for 1031 purposes.
Lots to think about.
All right. The only flaw with that program is I'd have to sell like about 10 houses in Scranton to
I was
buy one
thinking
in Avalon.
exactly the same thing.
Because I get the Zillow reports down there, and they go from like 2 million to like 15 million.
Yeah.
It is a little crazy. And
Yeah.
yes, we do see people do that. They sell multiple properties to buy that place in Avalon. But maybe the first place is in North Wildwood, one of your old favorite places.
I think it's still untouchable. North Wildwood is still untouchable for us.
Yes, I completely understand.
Now, I want to ask, is there a limit to how many properties you can sell and take advantage of a 1031 exchange? Is there a limit to the number of 1031 exchanges in a given 365-day year?
So the answer is no. You can, I've had a client sell, I think, 77 condos that he acquired over a 20-year period or so in the same community, and then sold them as a package to buy one replacement property. I also worked with a farmer that sold land and bought 53 replacement properties. I joked with him and said, isn't it easier to farm the land than manage all those properties? But for him, it was a great exit strategy. He sold to a builder for high dollars, and he brought somebody in to manage those properties for him, and he had nice cash flow year-round, which worked out very well for him. As far as number of exchanges you could complete, no, there's really not a limit to the number of exchanges that you can do during a time period or during your lifetime.
Good, great. Margot McDonald, president of 1031 Corp., calling in from Collegeville, PA. Tell me about 1031 Corp. Where are you based? How many offices? And how many states do you cover in terms of 1031 exchanges, please?
Sure, Jackie. 1031 Corp. is a 31-year-old company with 2 offices. We are headquartered in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, and we also have a second office on the West Coast in Central Oregon, a lovely town named Bend, Oregon. We have a number of employees scattered across the country. We have one in Chicago and in Arizona and Florida and Texas. But all of our transactions are handled out of those 2 offices. We handle a couple thousand exchanges each year, and our team can handle a transaction that is anywhere in the U.S. It doesn't matter where you are located, where your property that you're selling or buying is. And our team is very knowledgeable on the local title and real estate practices, the state non-resident withholding requirements, and they will work with you and your advisors to make sure that the exchange process is very easy.
31 employees?
31 employees.
Wow.
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. And how does someone get in touch with you, please?
Someone can call us at 800-828-1031. If you go to our website, which is just 1031corp.com, you could also get that local number, but the 800 number is a little easier to remember, just 800-828-1031. And if I'm not available when you call in, please feel free to speak with any of our exchange officers who are all very knowledgeable, most of which hold that certified exchange specialist designation, and they can answer your questions, talk about your particular situation, and help you get started if you want to.
Thank you, Margot. Pat, would you like to review a listing?
Yes, we have a duplex, a 2-family home at 1039 North Irving Avenue for $104,000. This home, it's got a remodeled 2-bedroom apartment on the first floor and a 1-bedroom apartment on the second floor. Also, this home has new flooring throughout, a new roof on the back porch, newer gutters all around the home. It sits on a 40 by 160 lot with a large, this is what I like, a large 3-car garage in the rear of the property that could be rented out for additional income. And reasonable taxes of only $2,700 a year. That's a duplex at 1039 North Irving Avenue in Scranton with a 3-car garage for only $104,000, and that's listed by Stacy Granza of our office.
Thank you, Pat. 19% of home buyers are single women. While they fall behind married couples, who represent 60% of home buyers, they exceed their male peers, who only represent 9% of buyers. And this is according to the National Association of Realtors. This has been a consistent trend in the last 40 years, but the share of female single home buyers has increased, reaching a peak of 22% in 2006. Single male home buyers have not surpassed 12%, which last happened in 2010. Since marriage rates have dropped, single females have stepped up to buy their own property. In the last 30 years, marriage rates have fallen from 59% to 52%, while both single men and single women reported the desire to own a home of their own as their top reason to buy. Women were far more motivated to buy to be closer to their family. Single women are also more likely to have a child or children under 8 residing with them, and they are more likely to buy a multi-generational home. Single females also are more likely to buy a less expensive home than single males. On average, women spend $230,000 on their home. Men spend $249,000. Women are also more likely to make less money, with an average salary of $65,000 compared to $78,000 for men. Because they make less money than men, they are more willing to make sacrifices. Women are more likely to cut spending on non-essentials like entertainment, clothes, and vacations. So what didn't you know from that article? You're looking at me.
No garage. I didn't hear anything about a garage.
No garage, yes. But
I grew up in Brooklyn. We were talking about this during the break, people who grew up in Philadelphia. As a kid growing up in Brooklyn, I always had garage envy.
Stay with the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21, Jack Ready Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be back after a very brief break. In your past real estate experiences, did you find most agents were mediocre? At Century 21 Jack Ready Real Estate, we defy mediocrity by being relentless. Don't settle for average. Contact the Relentless at Century 21 Jack Ready Real Estate. We have an excellent track record of serving the community for 50 plus years. Call 570-344-6724 or visit jruddy.com. That's jruddy.com. Thanks for tuning into the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, and with Pat Devaney, my husband, fellow realtor.
And we're having a fascinating discussion about 1031s.
With Margot McDonald, president of 1031 Corp., calling in from Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Thanks again for scheduling this time to call in and discuss 1031 exchanges. We're learning a lot. And as you have mentioned in last week, this week, these are easy, simple exchanges, even though a lot of people find them to be confusing and complicated. You're really breaking it down for us, and we're understanding everything about these 1031 exchanges a lot better because of your discussion with us. So we thank you for that.
Of course.
We love anything related to real estate. And since, people have invested in the stock market and have seen their
ups and downs.
Yeah, lots of downs lately. Real estate has always been something that's, as a realtor, I've always made it a point to tell people the benefits of real estate investing. And this is important. A 1031 exchange is a tax deferral, correct?
That is correct. It is a tax deferral. The gain is deferred as long as you own the property. You can continue to defer the gain if you want to sell that property and reinvest through another 1031 exchange. And the gain is not due unless you do an outright sale and sell your property.
So how do you get paid? What are your fees?
Sure. So it's really a pretty nominal charge. It's typically based on the sale price of the property you're selling. And I would say a typical 1031 fee across the board, across the country, you're going to pay somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500. It's a one-time fee. It's usually collected when you sell your old property. There could be an additional fee of $200 or $300 if you sell more than one property or purchase more than one property. But it is a pretty nominal fee, and it's usually charged on the closing statement, so you don't have to worry about taking money out of pocket to cover that fee.
Okay, so let's talk about we talked about it last show. For somebody that's tuning in this week that didn't get to hear last week's show, there are time frames that one must adhere to: a 45-day period, a 180-day period. And once that property closes and they get the money, and then they want to take that money and put it in a 1031 exchange, that window has closed. So let's talk about all of those items, please.
There are two time periods, and they both start with the sale of the old property. We call that the relinquished property. And because that is what's triggering all of your timelines, it's really important to set up your 1031 exchange with a qualified intermediary prior to closing. From the date of closing, you'll have 45 days to identify your new property. That means by midnight of the 45th day, you'll have to send a list of a couple of properties to your qualified intermediary. By midnight, they really do come over as late as midnight. And running at the same time, you have 180 days to actually buy everything that you want to buy to wrap up your 1031 exchange. As we talked about earlier, you could set that exchange all the way up until you go to closing of your old property. We could do it as late as at the closing table, and it might delay closing by 20 minutes or so, but the tax benefits will be huge. If you thought about 1031, you talked with Pat about it, and you finish closing and you're walking out to the car thanking him for his help and think, oh, Pat, I should have done that 1031 exchange. Unfortunately, it's too late. Once closing is complete, there's no way to make that into a 1031 exchange.
Right. The key is that I never get the money. It goes right into that account.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Well, do you think there's any changes to that 45-day identification period? Because that doesn't seem like a whole lot of time.
There is not a whole lot of time. However, you do have the time on the front end of your transaction before that time clock starts clicking to really utilize those days and try to narrow down your options. Really start looking. I suggest, depending on the real estate market, start looking as soon as you put your property on the market. Start looking around, trying to identify the types of properties, the location of the properties. And then once you have your property under contract, that's when you should get really serious and look for a property, try to narrow it down, get it under contract. It doesn't matter the dates the agreements of sale are signed. All that matters is when you actually close. So as long as you close on your old property before you close on your replacement property, then all the timelines will work just fine. And that could give you the opportunity to get through your 45-day identification period pretty easily and stress-free.
These are calendar days, and I can't tell you how many people don't understand that term, calendar days. Calendar days are not weekdays. They're not business days. Calendar days include holidays and weekends and Sundays, correct?
That's exactly right. So if your 45th day happens to be on Thanksgiving, guess what I'm doing Thanksgiving night? I'm looking for your identification to hit my inbox. Just remind everybody that the misconception that was fixed with you is that it's only for commercial investors, when the fact is it's really resident, single family, mom and pops like all of us that are doing 1031 exchanges.
Thank you, Margot McDonald, president of 1031 Corp, calling in from Collegeville, PA. How does someone get in touch with 1031 Corp, please?
You could call us at our toll-free number, which is 800-828-1031. Or you can find us on the web at 1031corp.com. realestateroundtable.com.
Thank you so much, Margot. We're out of time. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ready Real Estate. Remember, we're here next Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on 94.3 The Talker.